Hey guys, it's Scott Payne from PM Master Prep, and in this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the closing process group. More specifically, I'm going to teach you how to ace 7% of the exam with just one process. All you need is one process and nail that process down and you get 7% on the exam. All we're getting is 60 plus to pass it. So 7, it's a big deal. So let's grind down, let's get this 7%, and let's learn all about the closing process group. All right, and so the way in which I'm gonna teach you all about that, so remember, closing process group, it's in the integration management knowledge area. I'm gonna define for you the 3 whys that are driving this process group. And there's 3 whys that you need to know about. And then I want you to help you understand what you're trying to accomplish. There are very specific things that you're trying to accomplish and that you have to accomplish in the closing process group. And I'm going to teach you all of those things. And the last thing is I'm going to teach you the facts that you must know. These are the facts that you have to know to answer the questions that are all about closing, about how things happen. And they're very specific. So let's walk through these facts. All right, so let's go into the details. All right, so now we've made it all the way through. I want you to stop and give yourself a little clap. You made it all the way across through initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and now we're at the last one in closing. There's just one process left, and that's the close project or phase. Now, the thing is with this process, I want you to think about this is anytime you close a process, you have to go through this project. You have to go through this, even if the project is canceled. You have to go through this project. That could be a question on your PMP exam. If the project is canceled, what do? Well, you still have to go through this process. So don't think this is not important. You have to go through this process. Now let's talk about this. The 3 key whys. Now the first why in this project or this process group is to ensure customer acceptance. Now they've already accepted the variable or the deliverable, but here you're trying to make the customer happy. You're trying to deliver the finalized project to them. So customer acceptance, customer happiness is your ultimate goal. So that is the big why. The second thing is you've got to make sure that your project is closed properly. Now there are specific things that the PMBOK says for how to close a project properly, and we'll walk through those. You got to follow through. Don't make the mistake on the exam of just saying the customer's been handed the deliverable, they're happy, and then you're done. No, there are specific things that you must do to close out your project. And by going through these things, you're going to learn how to do these in your regular project. It's going to make you a better project manager on your side. So that's a good thing. The third thing is you want to make sure that the learnings are retained, okay? So inside that process, when you're closing out the project, the thing that people forget is how do we retain the learnings? And so that is one of the big whys that is driving this closing process, okay? All right. So let's go down deeper. We talked about the why. We're going to talk about the what and the how now, okay? And so remember, there's one process in this process group. And what I want you to focus on is that remember, it is an integration management knowledge area. So when we think of integration, what do we think of? Bringing everything together, right? So that's what you're doing. At the end of this project, you're bringing everything together and making sure that the customer is happy, making sure that everything internally is set up, and making sure that you've brought everything that you learned back to the organization so the organization not only benefits from a great project, but all the learnings, positive and negative, that you've done during the process. So it is purely an integration management process. So that's a beautiful thing, and that's the only one in this process group. Cool. So the objective, what is done? There are 2 things that you need to know right off the bat. You're finalizing all the activities, making sure that all the work is done. You don't leave anybody behind, making sure that all the activities are done that you said you were. So you're going through the list and making sure making sure all the deliverables are finished. And then whether it's a phase or a finalized project or an individual contract that you're working for, you're going down and making sure that everything is complete. Then think about it. In monitoring controlling, we went through control quality, where we checked if the deliverables met the acceptance criteria. And then we went and said in validate scope, does the customer accept the deliverables? If they did, that's great. That was back in monitoring controlling. Here, we actually take the deliverable, whether it's a service, a product, a process, whatever we've done in this project, and we hand it to them. You say, Mr. Customer, here you are. It's yours now. Here you go. And so we are physically changing hands of those things. So we're finalizing all our activities, making sure those are all done. Then we're taking all the deliverables, all the final products, and we're handing them to the customer. Two big things that we're doing in this. Okay, and so what is the output, the how we do that? It's the final product and service transition. We formally hand it over, we give it to them, however it has in the project. That's what the output that you're going to deliver in this process. It's an output of the process. All right, so the other thing I want to remind you is that, remember, you're pulling everything together from all the plan work and all the documents, and you're translating all that information. You could have, just think about it, you have a ton of stuff at the end of a project. You're translating that into a final form that both satisfies the customer and creates a situation where you can have all the records and information for further learning inside your company that summarizes what you did to the company to make sure you guys completed your contract or your work, and that summarizes it for OPAs and other things inside your company, lessons learned. So to think about that integration, both for the customer side and the internal side, you're going to archive all the project and all the phase info, all that information that you pulled in. You're going to archive that. Now that's a very important thing in the PMI world, that you got to archive all those lessons learned and everything else and put it in the data bank. And so it's there for later learnings. That's a really good thing. And the output related to that, project documents are updated. Think about the lessons learned register. You're going to update that as you go through, and you're going to create this record. And you're also going to create a final report. This brings everything together. You give it to the customer, you have it internal. This final report is the major deliverable of the closing process group, not only just handing over the deliverable or the final product, but this final report. All right, and so in doing all those things, then, only then can you formally close the project phase or the contract. Got to do all these other things that we talked about. Transferring the activities, completing all the activities, transferring the product and services, archiving all the information, writing the report, transferring the report. Then we can formally close it. So if you have a question on the exam that says, hey, they closed your project, you still have to go through all these things, documenting, creating a final report, doing all those things, and then you close the project before you move on. And then only when you've done all those things do you release all your team resources so they can pursue something else, put on another project, go back to work, do whatever they're doing. Only when you've done all those things can you release all your resources. Okay, so that walks you through from the beginning to the end for why we're doing this, to what we're doing, to how we're doing it. The big deliverables, the things you got to remember is we're pulling everything together. This is integration in its richest sense. So you're finalizing to make sure that all the activities are done. You're making sure that you transferred the materials and the products and services to the customer and they're happy about it. You've archived all your information to make sure all your T's and I's are crossed. You can learn better. All your other project managers can learn from your success and failures. And then you formally close it with the project report. And then you release everybody. Go forth and be successful in your other endeavors. So that really summarizes the close for you. What you need to know now is we're going to go even deeper into the details of the close process. So there's just one more process to go through. And there's only one more John video to go through. At this point, you should have been taking tons of simulator quizzes. You should have 24 different videos that you went through with John, where you learned how he walked himself through a project. It was really fun, right? John made a lot of good decisions. He made a lot of bad decisions, but he learned. And just think about if you're that John out there, you're going to learn as you're going through this, and you're going to take tons of information back to your actual real work, and you're going to be better, and you're going to ace this PMP. So before we go, remember, go through this last process, study it, watch the John video, answer the questions there, reflect, go through and take the last little quiz after this last box. And then I want you to go to the simulator, which you should already be going into and taking these quizzes, right? I want you to go into the PMP simulator, my PM Master Prep simulator, and I want you to methodically start from the beginning again, integration. And I want you to go through, or initiation, and I want you to go through every process group and take focused process group quizzes. Take your initiation quiz, see what you scored, focus on your weaknesses, dive through those. I'm very manual, man. I like this. You write down your weaknesses. I missed this. Use my planner, really helps. Go through there, study those. Use the PM1 view, use the IDO inspector, use the case study videos, use the EVM videos class in there. Use everything that we have. Go to my book, go through them methodically, every process group. That's the only way you're going to do it. Focused, fast, aggressive, and directed study. That's what we're all about. So go through every process group, go down there, really shine up your skills, and you're ready to sit for the exam. Now we have some 200 question exams. I recommend after you go through that, start sitting some occasionally through the 200. And like we said way at the beginning, you want to simulate the environment, simulate the exam. It's going to be quiet. It's going to be different. There's going to be people tapping their foot or doing things you can't control. You're going to be in a very sterile environment. So simulate that. Go to the library, try to set up at home, do it at work, something to get you in the right mindset. So after you get done with this, go through the process groups again, focus on your quizzes, find your weaknesses, eliminate them, take the big quizzes, study, set your date, make sure your date's set, and work up to that. You can do this. You've put in a ton of work by this point. I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very, very happy. Next step is get through this, do what I just said, and then send me an email, Scott@PMMasterPrep. Tell me one thing first. I passed the PMP. Just tell me. I'm very excited to hear from you. Then we can talk about something else for you. So go into it, dive into the close project or phase, and I look forward to helping you. I'll see you at the John video, and I'll see you when you pass the PMP.